Hello, folks. Let's get ready to rumble, folks. This is the wrestling top 10, based off all my wrestlers by three criteria: longevity, popularity, and fanfare. Fanfare and popularity would be considered one of the same, but in this case, fanfare is considered how if you kept the fans through the time frame as of today. To if the wrestler's still wrestling, then we're going like that. Let's get started with number 10. Number 10 is Jerry the King Lawler, which a lot of people know him as pretty much a ringside announcer, but he's been a wrestler. He wrestled in Memphis for so many years. He's known as the King of Memphis. So I had to give him 4 stars for 40 years of service in wrestling. Popularity, a 2, and fanfare, a 1, because he's not been very long-lasting with fans. Okay, we go to number 9. He follows by 4 names. One's his real name. The other 3 are his personas. So if you give up, it's Dude Love, Cactus Jack, and Mankind. Come on down, Mick Foley. Mick Foley, who is another WWE champion. Not like Jerry King Lawler, our first champion, heavyweight champion. Which, with longevity, 3 stars. Popularity, 3 stars. Pretty consistent until fanfare, 2. Which, the popularity, the reason why I gave him the 3 stars is because of Mr. Socko. Mr. Socko was one of the best gimmicks he had. The 2 stars, it was just because he did do good fanfare until, if he would have gotten longer, or even to the end of his wrestling career, he would have been good with it. Okay, now we go to number 8. Number 8. Here we go. We go with another heavyweight champion, of course. He is the Cerebral Assassin. He is the Game. Triple H. Triple H. He has 2. I give him 2.5 stars for longevity, which is 25 years for him, which is not bad service for a wrestler of his sorts for longevity. Popularity, I had to give him 4 stars because of it. At first, he was known as the pompous person, the Mr. Creme de la Creme wrestler, but he came out of that and ended up starting smelling like a rose. Fanfare, I had to give him 2 because he's had that sporadic effect on him. I was always a big fan of him after he got out of that pompous stage of his career. Well, now we go to number 7. Number 7 is a young guy, also another heavyweight champion. It is known as the Viper, and also an older name he was known for is the Legend Killer, Randy Orton. Randy Orton, which is our first 3rd generation wrestler, matter of fact, on the list. I'm not guaranteed there's only one, or there could be more. Randy Orton got 15 years of experience in WWE. I didn't see any more accounts of where else he wrestled, but popularity, I give him a 4 star because he's pretty relatively young. He's about maybe in his 30s, 40s, so he's practically pretty young. But his popularity has been extraordinary after Evolution. Fanfare, I have to give him 3 stars because 3 stars is pretty much, it's not consistent in him because of always sporadically disappearing like he did. It's just... Okay, now we go to number 6. Number 6, folks. 6 is a good one. He's known as the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Ric Flair, which with longevity, I have to give him 5 stars. He's one of the oldest wrestlers to date to wrestle that long. Ric Flair, with popularity, I had to give him 3 stars because 3 stars was the only thing I can give him because he was a fan. It was not really a fan favorite. He was a fan villain. He was a heel, of course. He's maybe the only one on this list that's really was the best heel out of the bunch. And fanfare too, because really, no one really liked the villain until, God, if I remember right, 97, 96, 97. Okay, now we're gonna break into the wall, break out through the wall this time with number 5. Number 5, folks. He's known as for his trademark yellow and red, and also known as Hollywood Hulk Hogan, from Tampa, Florida, of course, or should I call him by his real name, Terry Bollea? That was his real name. I don't know if he legally changed it, but for longevity, I give him 3.5 stars. Personally, very good, but he's got in popularity and fanfare. Popularity, he has the floor on that, because he gets a perfect 5 stars. Because this guy didn't see. It was pretty much consistent. He broke the wall for wrestling. Wrestling used to be pretty much in pretty much a gym, just a gym, and the guy brought it out of that gym sport, that smoking guy smoking cigars and everything, into the mainstream, with bringing MTV, thinking that these guys were cool because they got along with these music stars. So Hogan pretty much got the 5 stars for that. Fanfare, he did get that dip when he first joined NWO. Well, now we go into the top 4, which is crazy. Number 4. He's a pretty young wrestler. He's been wrestling for about maybe a little bit over 10 years. Not even 15 yet. Mr. John Cena. Some people call him the Doctor of Thugonomics. Some people call him the Champ. Former WWE Champion. Most of the guys I've mentioned already has been former WWE Champions. Cena with longevity, I gave him about a 1 star because of the longevity. But popularity, I had to give him a 4. Fanfare, I had to give him 5. The guy with the fanfare, the fans were loyal. They're loyal to him. They're like diehards. They're almost like Hogan's, but the only problem with Hogan's, he hit that dip. He's the only one that actually got 5 and popularity 4, because he's not going to hit that Hogan peak. If he goes in the film, forget it. He's doomed. That's the only thing I can say about that. He's only been in 1 movie. Hogan was in about, I think, 2 or 3. Yeah, 3. So Cena's only pretty much 1 down. There's 3 there. Okay, now we get into number 3. Number 3, folks, is another non-champ. This is the first non-champion besides Jerry the King Lawler, and he's not a WWE champion. He was never WWE champion, so he's known as the Human Submission Machine. Everybody knows him as Taz. Taz, I give him about 2.5 stars because longevity-wise, he was pretty much an ECW World Heavyweight Champion. Popularity, you have to give him 4. Fanfare 2, because he was not really in that big stage as long as other wrestlers. Now we go to number 2. Number 2 is known as the People's Champ, The Rock. If you can smell what the Rock is cooking. The Rock, I give him 2 stars for longevity. He has 20 years in, but does he wrestle? No. Fanfare, I had to give him popularity and fanfare 5 because it's still, to this day, he still has a fan following. The guy is incredible. He's the second, third generation wrestler, and if you don't know who his lineage is from, his father, Rocky Johnson, then his grandfather, the High Chief, Peter Maivia, which The Rock also is one of the only ones that I know of that has actually had 2 cousins, actually 3 cousins, wrestle in WWE. Umaga, Yokozuna, and Rikishi. They're all cousins. There are 3 of them. You count Rock, that's 4. And he also has a brother playing in the NFL. Or is that a cousin? I forget. But let's get into number 1. Number 1. He's known as, number 1, he's known as the Texas Rattlesnake, which is a stellar thing, because he's another one that's out of the only ones that get perfect with fanfare and also popularity is The Rock and Austin. He's another heel, but he's not the one that back in the day used to hate. This guy's the one that was cool to hate, cool to love, because most other people wouldn't say they hate Austin. Austin was the Texas Rattlesnake from Victoria, Texas. The guy, I had to give him for longevity about a 3-star because he's wrestled for 30 years, which popularity, he stayed straight through everywhere almost, which pretty much the 5 stars also for fanfare was pretty much, even when he turned his back, even the fans were still there. The guy was stellar with that Stone Cold Stunner. He would pretty much cause problems with the boss almost weekly with Vince McMahon. The guy's been shown on WWE with ECW when the WCW fired him on the phone, and he went over to Paul Heyman, and ECW at the time was not really big yet, and actually got a job with him. That's where Austin became Austin, not a Hulk Hogan wannabe. Well, that's my top 10, folks. Pretty much go down to the comments. If you think I missed someone, I might end up doing another video with a shout out for someone who thinks there's a better wrestler that I didn't talk about. I might end up talking about him then. If I don't know the wrestler, I might do some research on him. Well, give it a thumbs up if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe up here. And goodbye.